This week in Chapter 2 of CIST 1510, we're going to look at building a web page template with HTML5. So as we go through this chapter, a couple things you should do is learn how to manage website files, how to use HTML5 semantic elements, determine whether the elements used when setting the structure of the web page, design and build a semantic web wireframe, create your web page template, also insert comments in an HTML document, add static content to web page template. We'll also look at inserting symbol codes and other characters. We'll look at heading elements, the benefits of validating your web documents, also validate an HTML template, create a home page from an HTML template, and also add unique content to the web page. Now, when you start building your website, when you're building a website from scratch, it does take a lot of time and planning. When you start, before you start building a website, you really want to plan it. One of the key things is to meet with your client or the stakeholders of the website to understand what they are looking for, what is the purpose of their website, what is their target audience. So you want to get an understanding of what their goals are before you start designing a website. Communication is also key when designing a website. One of the things I like to point out is when you're discussing a website with a client or graphics or anything involved with web design, make sure you speak in plain English to them or plain terms. No, don't use a lot of the inside jargon when discussing it with clients. Keep it on their level. Now, when you're going through this chapter, the project you're going to work on is going to follow the accepted guidelines for planning and building a website template and homepage. So the roadmap for this is you create website folders to organize files, create a template, you'll add the HTML5 elements in the document, add comments and content to the document. You also validate the document and create and view the home page. So the activities you're going to be involved in when designing a website. First is planning. Plan out your website. Articulate the website's purpose. What is the need of the business, the need of the websites? What is the target audience of the website? You create a sitemap and a wireframe. Sitemap is how the pages are going to link together, how the pages are going to be related. Wireframe is a sketch of the website, kind of sketching out the layouts, where you're placing your images, where you're placing your content. You also want to select your graphics and colors that you're going to use on the site. And determine whether you want to design for optimal viewing experience across a range of devices. You want to make sure that you have your header, navigation page links, primary content area footer. Make sure that those are uniform across your site. Okay, so you want to make your site where it's a cohesive site where people can easily find their way around the site. So we're looking at the website. Excuse me. We see the purpose of our website. This is an example of planning. All right, so the purpose of the website is to promote fitness services and gain new clients. Our target audience are the customers or adults between the ages of 18 and 50. They want to have a multi-platform display. This is something you really need to plan for all the time. You never know what device your users are going to be using when they view your website. So you want to make sure that you plan a responsive web design. All right, the wireframe and sitemap. So in this case, the initial website is going to consist of 5 web pages arranged in a hierarchical structure with links to the home page on every page. Each web page is going to include a header, navigation area, main content area, footer area. Graphics, they want their fitness equipment logo, photos of the facility members, staff. They have their colors, black and white. Their text, they want easy to read. They're going to use the serif font style. And they want to make sure that it meets all the accessibility standards. Okay, as I said, the sitemap is going to indicate how the pages and the website relate to each other. So going back to the Forward Fitness Club, we got our 5 pages. We got a home page, about us, classes pages, nutrition page, and a contact page. Okay, so each one of those are going to have this content listed on those. So we see here how these sites are going to lay it out using a wireframe. We've got a home page. From there, we have links to the other 4 pages, and then I'll have more information about nutrition plans, class descriptions, so forth there. So once again, the wireframe is going to display the layout of the web page. So this is where you're actually designing the page, but you're not coding the page at this point. This can be something where you just sketch it out on a piece of paper. Okay, so they know that this is the general layout they want to use. I really recommend you use a uniform layout throughout your entire website. So each web page should have the same layout. Where the navigation is in the same area, a banner, heading, and so forth. All right, the file management. Websites are going to use several different types of files. You got HTML files, image files, media, maybe audio, video files, CSS files, maybe a JavaScript file. Now, when you do this, each site must follow a systematic method to organize its files. So you have a main folder. That's going to be called your root folder, and it contains all files and folders of that website. We see an example here for file management. Okay, so we have a fitness folder, and then inside of there, we're going to have our other folders under there. We'll have our scripts, our media, images, CSS folders, and we will link. For example, if we have an image, we'll link it to the folder and then the image inside. Okay, so we see creating a folder for web folders and subfolders. This is the same way as you're just creating folders and subfolders in Windows Explorer. This also helps you keep all of your files together, because once you're uploading a file or uploading a website to your server, to your web hosting server, you want to make sure all of your files go. Okay, so if I've got a file that's not in here, let's say I'm using an image that's stored in my pictures folder, that's not in my website folder, that image will not be sent. Okay, so when a user views that file or you views that web page, they're going to get a giant X and a box where the image should be located. So by using the good file management and keeping everything together, it does help you make sure that all your files get uploaded to the web server. All right, so when we're adding an HTML document, we saw this last week when we added some of these elements to our assignment. You add the basic required HTML elements, the doc type, the HTML, the head, body elements. Now, once you've done that, HTML5 is going to have new elements, that standardized names that you can add. That's going to reflect the purpose of these. So we have a header. We have a nav tag. That's our nav element is our navigation. We have the main. We have a footer element that we can add as well. We'll look at a few of these here. So we have our elements, our header. Okay, that's going to show that there is header information about the web page. This is generally going to contain like a business name, a logo, and it's generally going to put right after the opening body tag. Our navigation or nav tags, this is our navigation. Once you create these when you're designing a web page, generally you just want to create the nav, and then you can copy and paste this into the rest of your web pages so you can have the same navigation links. The main tags, this is going to indicate the start and the end of your main content. This is something that you're going to generally have one, or you will only have one main element that can appear on a page. It's going to contain the content, the primary content of your page. Footer is going to indicate items, usually at the bottom, something that's like the copyright date. It's going to indicate where the footer starts and ends on the web page. Generally, though, like I said, the footer area has got copyright date. It may have a date the page was updated, things of those natures. The sections, that's going to indicate the start and end of a section of a web page. And then there it's going to have a specialized grouping, specific grouping of content. Articles are going to format as an article, such as a forum or blog post. The aside tag, that's going to contain information about nearby content, and it's typically going to be something that's going to be displayed as a sidebar. So we'll look at examples of how this should look. I'm going to blow this one up here so we can see this a little better. All right, so we have our basic required HTML elements. All right, so this is stuff that's got to be in every HTML document. Okay, so you need a head and a body. The head has information to be read by the browser. Body is generally going to be what is going to be used by the user. That's to be viewed by them. All right, so the header element, navigation, main, and our footer element. When you create this, you can create a template with this. So you want to make sure that your web page is well designed. It has the same look and feel, have the same layout, same color scheme, type of graphics, text, and the elements are going to work the same way on each page. To save you time, once you develop your home page, for example, your navigation, you can copy the links for your navigation and paste those into your other pages, so you don't have to go back and redo those. You can also use a template, so there you can use that to make sure your pages have the same standard layout. So when we create a template, in this one here, they got HTML document, HTML elements, define the web page structure. So once again, we've got our doc type language. We know that we have going to put a title, meta character sets. So this is stuff that we can use as we go through creating our web pages. Then we can define our content area. And this is an example of after some information has been entered. Now, comments, this is something that can be added to your code. It's going to provide additional information about areas of the web page, but it's not something that's going to be processed by the browser. Okay, so it's not going to be viewable by the user unless they view the source code. And you can add comments using this tag here. Okay, so we would add this, put our comments in, and then close it. So I'm going to open up the source code for your assignment. All right, so example of a comment is use the main area to add the main content of the web page. Okay, but when we view this, you'll notice that it's not listed in here. Okay, so comments will not be rendered by the browser, but they are viewable in the code. And this is something to help the person that may come after you editing this website, so they will know the section. It may be a reminder for you to know what's going on in that area as well. All right, word wrap, it causes text lines to break to the right edge of the window. So if you're using, say, Notepad++, you can use the word wrap to break the text down to the next line. So you don't have to scroll over everything. All right, so we've looking at adding comments. In this case, the website template is created by a student. They've added a comment here. See another comment that's added inside of the body area. Once again, this is not something that is going to be rendered by the browser. Comments, once again, you will enter them in this manner here. All right, heading elements. They provide title or heading before a paragraph or text section of the page. This is something that's really going to be used to show that there's a new topic starting, or maybe to summarize the topic. They're going to appear in a larger format than normal text. So it makes it easier to scan a page. We see an example here of some heading documents on this Intel page. So we have desktops, laptops, the computer stick, because these are examples of heading elements. And underneath this, we have our paragraph elements, so the pages are broken down. See examples here of the different headings that are available: heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when we add a heading element, we would add them as we do here. Okay, so we have H1, so this is going to be a heading element 1. For example, they've added here as in the header. So it's a header element, and then this is called a nested tag, where it's a tag with inside of a tag. So if they're using this header on every page, it becomes a static content. Static content is something that's going to appear on every page. It may be web page links, the business name or logo. Footer information should be on every page. So we see the example here. They've got the header, the heading 1. We'll look at on the strike accord page. So we have a heading 1 that'll be listed there, as we see here. So let's look at what happens, the difference between these. So let's change this to a heading 2. I'm going to launch this in Chrome. After I save it. So we'll see the difference in the heading as we make the change from heading 1 to heading 2. Now let me change this back before. forget. And when I run this again, now we're back to heading 1. All right, symbols can be used as the HTML web page. You type the HTML entity number or the name. Now, when you insert HTML characters in the code, it displays a reserved HTML character on the web page. So we have like a number combination, £, maybe an abbreviated name. Let's look at some code here. So here we got page links, characters names added in this. So we'll see an example here in our navigation for our index where they've added these codes. Now, when we look at these on the web page, we see that we've had this symbol has been added in between our navigation. Okay, so it's going to depend on the code that we enter to what image we have. Now I'm going to bring up this site here. This is the W3 schools. This is a great tutorials, great references. Also has some hands-on exercises that you can use when going through and looking for HTML codes, HTML tags, how to add something to HTML. So if I'm going to click on the HTML tutorials, for example, you see I've got all kinds of different links over to the left. So for images, for example, if I want to add images, this does give me an example of how to add images. If I'm looking for these symbols, it gives me examples, and then it also gives me here. It gives me some of the symbols supported by HTML. I can pull up. This is for the math references. So this is a great reference. It's w3schools.com. So when I enter this in, I would get the copyright sign. I can also enter this as well. And we have a full references that you can use as well. All right, so we're seeing here that they've added the copyright symbol in the footer section. In our slides, it does give you a few of the different symbols that you can enter. Now, when you validate HTML documents, so after you've created your file, you want to validate your document. It's going to verify that the HTML code is correct. It's going to check for errors in your code, not necessarily in your content, and indicates where they're located and then suggests corrections. Now, if it finds an error in the HTML code, it's going to display a warning in the header bar. So we see an example here of validation using the W3C markup. So we've updated our file. Click the check button. It's going to run through, and in here it's found some errors. So it's missing space for the doc type name. So these are things you just go back in and recorrect and then resubmit it for validation. So looking at the W3C schools, W3C validator. All right, so a quick example of this, I want to update by file upload. In here, I'm going to choose one of the solution files. This is one I've not looked at. So I'm going to choose the file, click check. It's found no errors, as it should have found no errors with the solution files. You can also validate by direct input. So let's try this here. And I'm going to make some changes in this as I go. For example, I'm going to leave off the closing HTML tag. Let's misspell doc type. And let's say we forget to close the body. Do the check. So in here, I'm coming through, it's looking, says, wait a minute, this is an error here. And you see it's causing other errors because of the way I have this messed up. So it's telling me there's already a body tag open. That means I didn't close the body tag. It also tells me where in this document I need to make these changes. And then it gives me a copy of this so I can go in and make the changes here. So I'll make those changes, run it back through the validation. Run it back through, and I should get no errors at this point. No errors or warnings to show. So validating will help you make sure that your code is correct. All right, so when you create a home page using a website template, so you've created the template, you can save time by creating the web pages in that site. You know, it's already going to contain the HTML elements. It's going to appear on every page. So what you do here is you come in and you add the information for the web page, for the home page or the content page, and you just simply save it as that page. So instead of being template.html, I would save this one as, say, home.html or index.html or aboutus.html. So you want to save it for the name of the web page. And then you can add the information once again as you save these, as you create the pages. So in this chapter, we've looked at creating websites. Make sure we have our organization set up. You'll make sure that when you're uploading a file, a website file to a server, that you have all of your navigation, you have all of your files, all of your folder structures set up so you can just upload them as well. It's also important to validate your website. As well. All right, so this week's assignment is to create the chapter 2, create a web page for Strike a Chord. Your finished site should look like this, and you should also have your template as well. So you see my template and my home page are the same. Once again, you will go through here, perform the task. Be sure to check these as you go through them. Once you're finished, go to the task. Come down to submit. If you run into an issue and you need to ask for assistance, use the share button. Get the share URL. Send this link to me so that I can view your code. If you make any changes to it and you ask another question, you do have to send me an updated link.